This is the Speak Easy podcast, the behind the scenes of what it is to be a successfully paid speaker and entrepreneur and author. And I am your host, Altavis Pelzer, the voice coach, professional speaker, certified life coach, and founder of the World Voice League, a community of female speakers coming together to impact social change. And when I think about the youth voice, guys, you know, that is one of my heartstrings, right? Because the youth are so powerful and they're definitely our future. So this particular topic can go very deep when we think about the pros and cons of what they have going on right now with technology, with, oh my goodness, social media, but also the reality of seeing what's really going on in the world. So I have an amazing guest. Hello, Jacqueline.
Hello.
I'm super excited to have you on as a guest today because I know that this is your area. This is your heart. This is your heartbeat. This is it when it comes to working with the youth and the things that you've been able to see and do when it comes to our youth. So introduce yourself to the Speakeasy audience, and then we'll jump into today's topic.
Hello, everybody. My name is Jacqueline Goodwin. I am the pastor of Healing a Vessel Ministry and authors of Healing a Vessel, A Mother's Love and a Daughter's Journey of Faith. I am the mother of 3 young adults and the grandmother of 1 granddaughter, and I live in South Carolina, and my passion is working with the youth. I enjoy meditating, counseling, running, and exercising.
Now, when we talk about the youth, give them a little insight to how you've been able to work with the youth in the past.
Okay. In the past, in my career field, I have worked with the youth as a paralegal in family court, helping them with the legal aspect, but some of them have made poor choices, helping them to learn from their mistakes and to make better choices. And also I've served as a drug court counselor for the juveniles, helping those that have addiction and letting them find out what are their triggers and how to avoid triggers and also to make better choices.
Which is really interesting because a lot of times we look at, you know, we would think when you saying that you're dealing with, you know, drug and alcohol, we would immediately think, oh my goodness, she's talking about high school students or college students. But in all actuality, this is happening at an earlier and earlier age. So what has been the youngest age that you've had to deal with in that area?
With the drug court, now we've seen some middle schoolers come in, you know, with smoking marijuana, because marijuana is known as the gateway drug. So we've seen some middle schoolers, you know, trying marijuana, some of them even trying alcohol. So, you know, I would say what about the 6th grade, 7th grade, middle school, 12, 13 years old, as early as that are trying. Even in the legal field, you know, with the laws have changed, I've seen like little kids as far, we had I think he was in the 1st grade or 2nd grade, but what they call leeching. Him and some of his friends jumped another little kid, but they didn't understand the significance of it. You know, they just thought we were just fighting. But when it's more than one person fighting somebody, they don't look at the age. It was a leeching because they jumped on one child. So, you know, and that was a very, from remembering from that case, it was just something new for me to see. I had to interview, because as a paralegal, my job was to interview our clients, and then if they had witnesses, I had to go interview the witnesses. But to sit down and talk to the parents who literally thought, okay, this was just something the school would handle. But when the other parents press charges, it goes over into legal aspects. So I've just seen a variety of things just from both career field with the youth and little, you know, preschoolers, middle school, elementary kids. It affects all kids.
It's so interesting because when we look at how technology has really changed the dynamic of what children think is okay and what they don't think, but, you know, them having that moral compass, it's completely different than what it used to be, because something along that lines would have possibly been taken care of at the school level, whereas now it can't be taken care of at the school level because that holds the school liable.
Right.
It definitely does. But it also puts it back on us as a community and as speakers and as parents to say, what's that next move that we need to do in order to better prepare our youth?
And sometimes I think with so much, like you said, the modern technology, we have all these different types of video games, all these different types, even down to the cartoons. You see violence in the cartoon, you see violence in the video game. So at an early age, our kids are seeing violence in the cartoon. First thing is, it's fighting or killing in that. So one thing as early, like my granddaughter, she's 5-year-old, we monitor as much as we possibly what she watches, because some of the cartoon that we thought were good as we listen to it is not, the subliminal message that is given is not a good message. And then these kids take these things and go to school and think, well, I can go to school and do the same thing. But the school, like you said, they don't want to be bound. They don't want to be liable. So they have to take the correct step, the legal action. So we as parents need to be proactive and start within the home. And like I said, even in the community, not just parents, back when I was growing up, the community raisers. My neighbors saw me doing something bad, they cut my fanny, as my grandma would say, my fanny got cut, But so we need to go back to that with the community, but of working together to raise the kids and leading them on the right path. And they're like working with the youth as far as like making poor decisions. Some kids literally would steal, just have money, but go to the store just to steal because they're lacking attention at home. And sometimes we as parents thinking, buying the clothes, clothing them, feeding them is everything. But sometimes they just need that going to the park or just sitting down and watching something on TV with them or sitting down asking them what is their day about. It's really brought out and working from this legal field and counseling. I realized a lot of kids were doing things for attention. They wanted their parents' attention. So if I can't get your attention in a positive way, I do something negative. I'd rather have negative attention because I still got your attention. So now with the court system, with our program, the kids would have to come to group 3 nights a week, depending what group they were in. And then they would have to meet on Monday night to go before the judge. So we as counselors could report their progress in the program. So now I got all your attention, mom and dad, because now you got to make sure I get to my groups. The parents had to be to court with them, So then even then from the paralegal aspect, you got to take time out for work to come to the court here. Whereas if we can sit down and just talk to them, find out what's going on. My kids are 21, 22, and 25, and they be like, Mom, you still be asking us what time we get home. What you doing? How was your day? Where you going? Yes, I want to know.
That is so true. And, I think it's a constant reminder that guess what you do and what you see are always going to be 2 different things. So when you're going out there and you're looking and talking to these other parents and seeing what they're doing with their children or what's not being done, it's like, wow, you come home and you kind of move even further into, okay, so what time you going to be back? Okay, and you're going to be where? And we need to we need to coordinate all of these different pieces of the puzzle. But it's hard. It's hard. And as parents, I know a lot of times the complaint is, where's the time to do it all?
Yes. It's the time, and it comes with time managing. Because me being a single mom, I had to realize that. When my kids were younger, I had one in high school, one in middle school, and one in elementary school. So I had to make time to be there, to be to the programs that they were in, to be to the graduation. Some days I really didn't know what I was coming and going, and then still make sure that I was top on, because as a paralegal, we do the bulk of the work to get the attorneys ready for court. So on top of that, I still had to make time that I was on top of my work, still be there for family. Thank God before he called my mom home, she was there. So, she helped me as much as like making sure she cooked dinner, but it's making sure that helped out a lot. And then get home, make sure everybody did their homework, just being in their lives. And then making sure, okay, on the weekend, because some Saturdays I had to work. So when I would work till noon, getting home to say, okay, let me shut down and separate work and leave work at work. And now let me just be mom and do things with my kids as mom. Because it reminded me, it took my baby girl, my youngest girl, Jasmine. She said one day, I used to keep my phone all the time from work. And she said, Mom, you're there more for the kids at work than you're for us. And that just, whoa, I was like, wow. And it made me step back and evaluate. So I had to make some changes in my time management, you know, to let my kids know, you know, I love y'all just as much as I love my work. That's my passion. But, you know, first I need to make sure my home is taken care of before you slide through the creeks. And then I have to be on the other side of the table.
So powerful, so powerful. Ministry always starts at home. It definitely does. And oh my goodness, when we're moving out into helping the different youth, we got to remember that every youth is going to be different. That's one of the lessons I've learned as a parent. No matter how many children you have, each one is going to be significantly different. So what would you say to that parent that, you know, they're like, oh, well, I can just kind of lump them together, send them all to one program or do this with all of them, and it should work, right?
No, because I had 2 girls and 1 son. So we would do something together. And then I also made sure I did something individual, because like you said, they each are different. So you want to make sure that you let them know that I see you as that individual. You're just not your sibling. You don't have to be, because when we lump them together, sometimes whether we know or not, we can cause our children to be one in the shadow, to fall in the shadow of one of the other siblings. And we don't want them to do that. We want them to have their own identity. So we have to make that time to do something individual, do something collectively as a family, but do something individual. Because my oldest daughter, you know, she likes to read and do different things. So me and her, you know, do stuff about reading and talking. You know, she likes to read these different books. So when she was younger, you know, me and her did those things. My son was a basketball player, so I make sure I go to his games and stuff, let him know that mom is there. He liked to play basketball when he was younger. My baby girl, you know, she was an entrepreneur. I just saw that on her. So she would like to just go to different stores. Her thing was like, just go to stores and shop. So I just made sure, whether I have money or not, I would just window shop. Just, you know, just to get out and do stuff. But as a family, we would go out and eat together and talk. And then I would find what they would like to do individually and connect to them on that level.
I love that. I think when they were in middle school, I used to do a cut day. So every day I would go get, you know, or every day, or like once out the month, I would go pick up one and, you know, pick them up early from school or pick them up from after school program, and the other ones would still be there. And we would go do something simple, just go get a brownie and ice cream and watch a movie before the other ones got home. And you know, taking that time out, it does seem like, oh my goodness, the time management piece that you hit the nail on the head with that one. Because as I was doing more and working full time, oh my goodness, that couldn't be done anymore. So it was a struggle because you got people who call out and all these other things.
Yeah.
But now that I have begun working from home and being able to you know, do podcasting and speaking, I still have things where I'm out of town, but they had an impromptu day at school where they were going to be doing improv, and I was able to show up. Wow. And, you know, just something like that, whereas there were only maybe about 2 or 3 parents in the audience, that speaks volumes.
It does. When they see your face, you know, and I know we as parents can't make every event, but try to make some of them so they can just see that face. And I knew that their dad wasn't going to be there. He couldn't be there. So, you know, I would just make it. Even I told my supervisor, if I have to work over a take, you know, I need to take like my youngest daughter, she would like to be in a lot of events. So she was a part of this dance team and they performed. So I told my supervisor, I was like, it's during my lunch hours, I'm going to take an extended lunch. And I stayed there just to watch her, you know. And then I told her, I said, well, this is not my Saturday to work. I would come in Saturday morning. And I told her, you know, I made sure I didn't work past 12. I want to spend all day up there. But just to do something with them. And that's the same thing I'm telling my daughter now that's a mother, you know, because she works a lot. And I was telling her, don't get so consumed with work and lose my granddaughter is Isabella, and lose Isabella, find stuff to do with her. So she does that now. She sets her schedule. And I said, whether it's just you and Isabella going to the park, whether y'all just eating an icy, it's those little things that means a lot to her. So she's even just sharing that down to her to let her know, start when she's little. Because if you let the TV raise them, then you're going to see the TV spilling out of them in school, overspilling into school, because they'll start being disruptive because they want somebody's attention. And you don't want them to get the wrong attention from somebody, you know.
Now, one of the interesting things that I also found was that a lot of times the ones that are in this system, they don't necessarily have that relationship at all with their parents. Some of them have been at home by themselves, taking care of younger siblings, and some of them have been out on the street. I worked with adjudicated youth at a high school for the adjudicated youth. And man, the stories that would come through, you would just go, well, who is there for you?
Right.
Who's speaking up for you? Even when they go to court, you know, a parent may show up, but who's really advocating for you as a youth? Because if nobody's advocating for you, then it's kind of like you kind of get railroaded into this hamster wheel of things when it comes to getting into the system. So it makes it really hard to get out of it on the opposite end, or to be able to do something better when you do get out.
Yeah, and that's when I was working with the youth in drug court, as well as the paralegal as the legal side, I would see the youth, and I remember sitting out talking to the judge, and he was saying, well, you know, why do they keep smoking, or why are they doing this? And I told the judge, I said, you have to come out from behind your gated community. Because my job was, as a paralegal, I was also the family court investigator. So I went into the homes of these kids. I said, when you walk where their shoes, where they live, I begin to understand why some of them smoke weeds, why some of them were at school high, because it was the environment which they was in. And like I told them, it's easy for you to say when we were behind a gated community until you go into their community and see their circumstances and see what are their options. If they're not presented with other options, they're going to work with all that they know. You know, I had one kid that he was the oldest brother. His mom had men in like revolving doors. So he had to take care of the younger brother. So he was more like, I'm the man of the house, making sure nobody doesn't do anything to my sibling. So he began being stressed from that, and then trying to still maintain as a high schooler. Then he had some learning disabilities. So he just had a lot coming at him. I said, so after I began to go into the home of some of the kids, like you said, I began to see the dynamics and see what was the root and the causes of these things, and then trying to show them other options, you know. And I just one thing I tell my kids all the time in both of the career field that I work in, no matter whether you came through the court system, whether you came through drug court, we are just an umbrella that's covering you for this season. So when this season is up, you're going to go to another season. Take something from this. Don't let this be your obstacle. Don't let this be your setback, but let it be a setup, and you move forward from it.
That speaks to so many different things. You know, let this be the setup for your next level. A lot of times when they get in trouble, it's, oh my goodness, this is the end of the world. This is the worst thing that ever happened. And I even had people say to me, you know, they talk down about the system, and they, okay, well, this is your opportunity. This was your moment to say, am I going to keep moving down this journey or down this path, or am I going to pivot to something even better? And if I decide that I'm going to pivot to something better, then I need to have somebody that's beside me or somebody around me that's saying that pivot is okay. You know, I've heard different people give their testimony that are older and that are adults that talk about, you know, when they made that decision to pivot, having somebody beside them during that moment really was what made them stay on that path and go to something greater and go to something better, as opposed to going back out and doing the same thing that they were already doing.
Yes, because I've seen some of my past clients, and it just amazes me when I see them like in the stores, and they come and say, oh, Miss Goodwin, and my first question is, what are you doing? you know, and they're telling me, you know, they got a job. Some of them are, you know, going to college, and it just makes me feel really good. And they was like, well, Ms. Goodwin, I thank you just for pushing and, you know, pushing me and believing in me, because, you know, we have to see the good in them. You know, youth, they're young, they're impressionable, you know, they make mistakes, but sometimes we as adults, we hold their mistakes over them too much. Instead of saying, okay, you made a mistake, you fell down, get up. It's just like riding a bicycle. You fell off your bike, get back up and get on your bike. But let's see what you can do better. Because you can make better choices. And that's what I'm telling you, you can make better choices. You can decide the outcome of your life. You can decide if you want to still be a drug user. You can decide if you still want to be a drug dealer. You know, you can decide, but it's up to you. You know, and some of them, the parents were just so upset and they just couldn't see beyond that. And I would always tell them, stop speaking negative words over them. You know, the Bible says death and life is in the power of the tongue. Speak life over your child. If you keep speaking negative, that gets not only in their mind, but in their soul. So now that got to come out of them. That's a wound, you know, that you place in them. Some of them have been rejected, so they're dealing with that wound of rejection. So they're thinking, well, the only thing that accept me is this lifestyle of drugs. Is this lifestyle of sleeping with all these different men, you know? So we have to be careful, even as what we speak over the youth.
So now transitioning and you seeing them, how many of them have you followed them for a long length of time, or is it normally a short period of time that you're engaging with them?
This is a short period of time, because some of them, when I left both of the jobs, they didn't like for us to be in contact with the kids. So, but it just so happened a good bit of them I would run into, of course, Walmart. So, and they volunteer. You know, when I asked them how they doing, they just volunteered to tell me. You know, I met one young man that did not like me, could not stand me, and I ran it into him at Walmart. And when he hugged me, I was so shocked. I was like, and he said, I thank you for being so hard on me and not giving up on me. He said, I'm now married. I have 2 daughters. And he has a plant job. And I said, but you have a job. It doesn't matter whether it's at the plant. It doesn't matter if you were working at McDonald's. You have a source of income. You're not selling drugs anymore. And that's what I'm proud about, that you made a change in your life. And his mom was working at Walmart at that time. And she came, she said, I thank you for sticking with us. Because she didn't have a support system. You know, he was the oldest and she had other little kids. So they needed that outside support to say yes. You know, sometimes in my job, when the kids would be at jail, parents would call me and say, could you go down to the jail and talk to them? So I would be the one that they would see maybe on a Saturday. I would take out my time, run down there and talk to them, and again go back and make sure my house, my kids are taken care of. But to just them know, just because you're behind bars today, this is not the end of your life. Your failure is not final.
Oh my goodness, that is epic. That is the story that you want to hear, you know, the results that you want to see happen when it comes to helping the youth in that moment, in that time, knowing that, again, they may not have that success rate, you know, they may not have that support, they may not have those things going for them that somebody else may have for them. And it's always the eyes of the beholder, because guess what? When we're looking at them, they're our kids as much as they are somebody else's. We may not have given birth, but they still are babies. Yeah. So you definitely, I felt that in working with them, to the point where a lot of them still follow me. A lot of them still, you know, stay connected. I may receive a message, and I've seen certain ones go and get married and have children, and you get to say, oh my goodness, that's such a powerful thing, because I look at where you were and where you are now.
Yes.
And they themselves don't even always see the positive change.
No, because one of the young men, when you said that, reminded me, one of the young men, he sent me a Facebook request and I accepted it, and he's in the Air Force. And I was like, wow, that brought tears to my eyes. I was like, wow, you have really done it. I'm so proud of you. And he was another one, his mom just thought, he just Ms. Goodwin, he's just not going to do anything with himself. And I just tell her every day, don't give up. we're going to work through this. He came through my drug court program. You know, he had a bad attitude, and I just stayed on them. And I just told him, whether you like me or not, I'm going to stay in your face because I believe in you. You know, and he sent me a picture. I forgot where he was stationed, but he sent me his picture where he had was in the Air Force. And I was like, I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it. So, and he's dated a young lady, so he's really turned his life around. So it's like you said, they become our kids, and that's what I tell them. They're my kids. Even my children, when they date, I just like, those are I adopt their boyfriends and their girlfriends. Everybody's calling me mama, but and I think that's one of the things God has given me, even from transitioning from work, even in ministry. God has just always had me with the youth, and I think that is just why it's such my passion, because that's where God wants me to work with the youth, to let them know, you know, that you do have a destiny. You do have a promise. You know, God do have a purpose for you. Yes, we all been through the pain, but let's find the purpose in the pain. Let's see how we can turn this pain around and make a ministry out of it, make a destiny out of it.
You know, the other piece of that is I always ask everyone that comes on, what has been a blunder for you? You know, in this journey, there's always that moment where you look back and you go, maybe that wasn't the best option right there.
A blunder for me. As far as the youth of my life.
I would say, as far as you working with the youth, have you had any moments where you turn around and you're like, that wasn't the right move to make?
Let me think. I'm quite sure. Now, with one of the young ladies, she was me and her just butt head. So I sort of just backed up from her, and I switched her over to another counselor. But as I look back, I think I should have just stuck out with her, because I've seen her since she graduated, and she went to school to become a veterinarian. So I'm proud of her as well. But me and her butt head, and I switched her to another counselor because I just like, I'm getting exhausted. But I think I should have just stuck it out more with her. But I am glad, because she did turn it around. She's a veterinarian. But looking back now, since you asked that question, thinking back on it, reflecting on it, I would think with her, I should have just kept her as on my caseload, and just take a deep breath and come back, and versus just switching her off to another counselor. Yeah.
And that's a hard decision to make. I mean, we have to remember that somebody who's working with the youth, there's a lot of self-care that needs to be involved. There's time with family, there's time away. You have to learn when you can put the phone on do not disturb and just kind of shut things down. And so looking back and saying, okay, well, yeah, I should have pushed a little harder, but in that moment, it didn't feel like you could. That's very understandable. I know, coming from Philadelphia, most of the DHS workers there have huge caseloads, extremely huge caseloads. And you always look and go, how are they supposed to handle all of those caseloads? They can't. I mean, they have to get support, and sometimes they got to, pass it off. Sometimes they can't handle everything. But in that moment, making that decision is powerful for you, because you'll have some who won't say anything and try to do it, and then they end up getting burnt out. Yeah. It's like you're trying to juggle all of these things, and then you end up dropping everything.
Because and that was my thing. I did not want her to fall through the crack, because I wasn't able to reach her at that point. And I was like, we are just not connecting. And I was just like, I went home and I prayed about it. I was like, well, God, this is when I just can't reach it. And I was like, I'm just going to have to pass over, because we did that in the office. We would switch my counselor. My coworker gave me one of the guys, because he had lost his mom and I had lost my mom, and she felt that I could better counsel him, because that was some of his drug issues based out of that. So, but I just realized, that I'd done everything that I could do, and I was getting, like you said, to the point I was getting burned out with her. I was like, I'm just putting so much energy in her. And I was just like, so then when I look back, and then when I saw her some years back, and her and her mom, and she went to become a veterinarian, I was like, well, did I make the right decision? And I was like, well, along the way, I guess I did. I said, because she still turned out good. She's still doing great things. So, yeah, it was a hard decision for me, though, because I was wondering, second guessing myself, am I dropping the ball? Am I giving up too soon on her?
And that leads me to my last question is knowing when to walk away. What were some things where you can say, I know you said in this one instance that y'all were butting heads and that was, you felt like you couldn't get through to her. So that was your reasoning for walking away. But is there any other reason that you would say, you would look at a student or you would look at a youth and say, I cannot help them in this moment. I need to have them go to this person or that person?
Yes. Now, some of the youth, depending on their circumstances and the issues that they were dealing with, I felt that if it was out of my scope or expertise, I would refer them to someone else, because sometimes we try to do everything we try, and we don't have all the answers. And being able to say, I don't have all the answers, but I can refer you to somebody that does, because my supervisor was from New York, so she had a different view or different perspective on some things. So there were some kids that she could talk to that were going through gang issues. That was not my expertise. So, she would take those kids and she would talk to them. So just knowing your scope and your scope of expertise, that was when I realized, in that area, I need to pass you on to a counselor, because at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is that these kids come out, with some type of wholeness, some type of plan, and a support team that can say, well, if I can't help you, we as a team, somebody else on my team can help you, so we can get you where you need to go. Because I never want to be a hindrance or obstacle to any of the kids I work with, any of the youth. So even if that means they're saying I have to pass them on to somebody, even in ministry, as a pastor, there's a youth I can't minister, and I know another colleague, let me contact them and see if you don't mind talking with them about the issue. Because we as leaders, as pastors, sometimes we feel, we have all the answers. But sometimes, there's another pastor that may have a past or may have gone through something that the child is going through, that they can talk and reach them.
That's why it boils down to having that great network of people that you can talk to and reach out to, and don't think that you have to do it all on your own. I know we want to be Superwoman and Superman, but you do not have to do it all on your own. I applaud you for that. Oh my goodness, this interview is amazing. Again, the heart is, that's the kids, the teens, that's my heartstring right there. So I definitely appreciate all that you do. Let everybody in the studio audience know where they can connect with you and how they can reach out for more information.
Okay, I am on Facebook. You can just put in Jacqueline Goodwin. I am also on Instagram at Lenice Goodwin, as Lenice Goodwin, that's Lenise, and my last name Goodwin. And also on my ministry website, which is www.healingindthevesselministries.com.
I love it, guys. You know that I always love bringing you guys guests and topics that resonate with you. We know right now our youth need that voice. They need the person that's going to be the voice for them and the ones that are going to empower their voice so that way they can go and be a voice for themselves. Because if not, we can't expect them to do any more than what it is that they've already been doing. So I appreciate and applaud everybody that works with the youth, and no matter what capacity. I know we're currently in like Teacher Appreciation Week, so that high five to all the teachers as well. You guys do an amazing job.
Yes.
You guys stick it in, you stick it out, and you make it work. And we applaud you and appreciate each and every one of you. But guys, this is what it's all about. Because guess what? Sometimes it means I got to work with the youth. It means that I got to work with the elderly. It may mean that I need to work with people, different nationalities. Whatever it is, whatever demographic you're supposed to be helping, now is the time to make sure that you're getting out there and making sure that you can get in front of them by any means necessary. It may be through a book. It may be standing in front of them and speaking. It may be advocacy. So whatever that looks like for you, now is a great time for you to step into that. With that being said, guys, we want to know how this particular episode resonated with you. So go to bit.ly/Speakeasy Podcast Show, all lowercase, and leave us a review over on iTunes and let us know how this episode hit your heartstring. And even if it didn't, we would like to know that as well. Until next time, guys, don't forget to press it out. See ya.